Hello, Steve Mills here. It's great to be back on my podcast again, on the Results Podcast, sharing with you some more tried, tested and proven ways in which you can grow your business. Now, today I'm again incredibly lucky to have a friend with me, a friend. We've been friends, I dread to think now, it could be over 20 years. But he's someone that is not only a friend, he's also someone that I hugely respect. And I've spent probably 25 years now learning from leading marketing experts, some of the real great people in our industry. And, Kieth, who I'm going to introduce you to in a second, is definitely a real expert in what he does. And, it's great to have you here, Kieth. And we're going to talk to you today about marketing and defining your target market and a whole load of real valuable stuff. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome Kieth Banfield to the Results Podcast. He's come all the way from Australia to be with us today, so it's great that he's there. And all I can say, Kieth, is good day.
Yes, good day to you too. Yes, it's great technology, isn't it? We can be in different parts of the world and still sharing ideas and talking to each other.
Wonderful, isn't it?
I love this platform, and I think Zoom's really taken off over the last few months.
Yeah,
and I think more people realise.
Yeah, don't you just wish you'd bought shares in Zoom this time last year?
Absolutely, yes. That would be fantastic.
That and face masks and hand sanitizer. They were
Netflix
the three things. Yes. Who would have believed that, the three things that would have really taken off in sales would have been those three? But it's a very, very strange world, isn't it? So, Kieth, do you want to just, I gave you a bit of an introduction there, but do you want to just kick off by telling everybody a little bit more about you and what you do over there in Brisbane?
Yes. So, as you say, I specialise in marketing and particularly working with small businesses. And I love working with small business owners and particularly business coaches, consultants, trainers, people like that I can really relate to that niche because it's something that I myself do. So I'm a keynote speaker. I do a lot of consulting and working with small businesses. But the thing that I really love is being able to make a difference and to help people. And I think one of the biggest challenges that a lot of small business owners that I speak to face is not being able to get enough leads, not being able to get enough clients or customers. And I think a lot of people in the past have wasted money on this, and they then start fearing spending more money because it's like it's just going to be flushed down the toilet and they're not going to see anything for it. And of course, if you don't know any marketing at all, as you and I both know, you're not going to get any business coming in, apart from maybe a bit of referrals or word of mouth here and there. But it's not consistent. And I think to have a business that's really going to grow, it needs to be consistent.
It does, yeah. I see all too often people saying, well, I don't really do any marketing. We just rely on word of mouth and we do a bit of networking. We're in a couple of networking groups, and I often say to people, well, firstly, well done, because if you're getting referrals, then it proves you're good at what you do.
Yeah.
But it's self-limiting, isn't it? It's like, it's like trying to, be fit by only doing arm curls down the gym. That's all you do. You do a whole load more exercise that would really help you get fit. And getting marketing fit is absolutely paramount in business. Now, I know just before we started today, we were talking about niche, and you've already mentioned some of the niches that you're in. So do you want to sort of kick off talking, giving some tips or thoughts on niching and what people need to do?
I think, I think the thing that's important is to be able to build a connection with your target market. And if you try and be all things to all people, that's very difficult to do because you can't have one message that appeals to all people. And the chances are you're not going to be able to have thousands of different messages, marketing messages to appeal to everyone, even by breaking them down into lots of different segments. So the best thing to do is to identify who is your ideal client and then put a message, a marketing message that's going to appeal to those people. So I'll give you an example of that. let's say that you were, let's say you've got a gym and you want to promote that gym. Now, lots of different people go to gyms. It might be guys in their 20s, they want to get a six-pack or something like that.
Yeah.
And then you might have, I don't know, women in their 40s, they've had their babies and they want to get their pre-baby bodies back, so there's different segments, and each segment wants a different outcome from going. Now, a lot of gyms, if they were marketing their gym, they would have a message that's something like, come to our gym and get fit, and we've got 20% off if you join now. And it would be sort of price driven. It would be very much around one size fits all. So if I were promoting a gym, I'd say, okay, well, let's take one of those segments and let's put a message that's very specific to them that they can relate to. So let's take the example I gave earlier of the guy in his 20s who wants to get a six-pack. So if you want to get a six-pack, it's going to take quite a bit of work and determination, and probably going to take not just effort in terms of working out in the gym, but it's probably going to take a special diet as well.
Yeah.
And it's going to take a few months of really ongoing work to achieve that outcome. So a gym could package together a nutritionist to do the diet component and a personal trainer to do the keeping someone on track and motivated component, and of course the gym membership to give them access to all the equipment.
Yeah.
They could target someone who is that 20-year-old male or 20-something-year-old male, and it could be putting that message in front of those people that they know are interested in the gym, and they could say the six-pack ad program, six-pack in 6 months. Guaranteed, provided you do everything that we show you. And so it could be a very powerful message that is aimed at one specific niche, as opposed to being one size fits all.
And with modern technologies now, that's so easy to do, isn't it? To say
Yes.
To something like Facebook, right, I want to target men aged 20 to 30, or women who've just had a baby.
Yes.
Technology enables you to do that, so it's quite easy once you select your market. And I suppose, using the metaphor of a gym, you'd have one advert for one type, another advert for another, over 60s men, over 60s women,
Absolutely.
athletes, targeting runners. You might have an advert for that, so you can be, as you say, so much more focused than just come and join our gym. Here's first month free and 20% off for 6 months. So yeah, I really like that.
That's what every gym does. And I think the key thing here is that people buy on emotion and they justify with logic. Yes. And you can't really connect with them emotionally if you don't know who they are. As I say, one size won't fit all. You just can't get that emotional connection.
No. And I think also there's some truth, Keith, in the fact that, if you were I'll use the word accountant. If you're an accountant and you come to me and you say, look, Steve, I'm an accountant, I can do all your accounts for you. That might be something I'm interested in. But if you came to me and said, look, Steve, I'm an accountant and I specialize in marketing companies, which one would I go to?
Precisely, yes.
And I might even pay a bit more for the specialist. So, it really makes total sense. One question, and this is a really tough question, I think: how do you decide what your niche is? Because it's something I've had trouble with over many, many years. When people say, well, you need to niche, Steve, more, you need to focus on this area. But what is this area? Because for me, a little bit like you can help people in almost any industry. But you can't do everything. So what tips or advice would you have for people in terms of how do they, I don't know, a consultant, for example, or an accountant, or whatever, how do they find that niche? What's the best niche?
It's a good question, and I've struggled with this
Mm,
myself in the past
yeah,
because and I think it comes down to, well, what outcome do you want?
yeah,
So for me, I want someone that I want a niche that I understand.
yeah,
So that's one of the things that I would look at. I need enough people in that niche that I'm not going to run out of people as
yeah,
well.
yeah,
If I was looking at a niche of rocket scientists or something,
yeah,
and
yeah,
I need hundreds of thousands of them, I'm probably not going to get that.
yeah,
So I need a big enough niche that I'm not going to run out of potential leads. I need to have, for me, someone or a niche that I understand and I can relate to.
yeah,
Ideally, a niche that I've got some sort of experience in, because I can really
yes,
understand them then.
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, you can always do market research and you can always do your research, which I'd always recommend people do anyway. But if you understand that niche, that really helps. And I think it's something that you're interested in. If you're interested in it, then you'll enjoy working with those people.
I absolutely agree. Yeah, and the other one for me is something I enjoy. Is it
Yes.
something that is it something I'm passionate about? I love my sport, for example. So for me, when I started off in business, I was definitely more geared towards sport because I'd come from a sport background. I'd helped a sports promotion agency get to #1 in the UK, and so sport was a natural thing. But then I sort of changed and sort of expanded. So once people have got the niche, and again, another tough question: what should they do? They've been in business for a little while now. They feel as though they've tried everything. They've tried lots of different marketing things, and they've not really got a process where they put an amount of money in and get an amount of money back, and it's really profitable, and they can just keep doing that. So where would you start off advising people, Keith?
Well, again, a great question, Steve. I think, firstly, I think marketing, the method you use needs to be scalable. So
Yeah,
as we were saying before, if it's just word of mouth, it's not really scalable because you can't dial in as many clients or leads as you want. So I like platforms like Facebook ads or
yeah,
LinkedIn and platforms where I'm not going to run out of potential leads. So that's the first thing. The second thing then is to understand, well, what's the problem that these people have, and what could you help them with? And once you understand what their problem is, you can sculpture your marketing message around that. You want to have, so for me, for example, if it's marketing, I might say, are you sick and tired of not having enough leads?
mm-hmm.
Um, so I can relate to their problem. Have you tried everything and you just can't seem to get enough leads? Then I could be more specific and I could say, are you a consultant in Brisbane that's sick and tired of not getting enough leads? And
Right.
notice I'm using the sick and tired because it's a pain related
Yes.
problem. See,
Yeah,
a
yeah.
lot of people, they respond to pain more than pleasure. So
Yes.
if something is hurting, it's like, well, how do I get that fixed?
Yeah.
So
And
I think the first thing is, sorry,
sorry, go on, go on.
I was going to say that I think the first thing is to identify what's the problem that you can help them with.
Yeah,
So then we need to lay out the benefits and the solution that we can offer.
yeah,
But one of the challenges that I think a lot of people face is it's like asking someone to marry them on the first date. They see a potential client and they jump straight in and go, look what I've got to sell you.
yeah,
Maybe not using quite those words, but that's essentially what they're doing. And what they do is they then turn people off and push them away because no one really wants to be sold to. And so what we need to do instead is to build a relationship. We need to start a relationship. And in order to do that, I think the first thing is you need to show that you know what you're talking about, that you are trustworthy, that you are the go-to person that someone should be talking to get this solution. And in order to do that, you need to have some sort of marketing funnel.
mm-hmm.
So we want to take someone, let's say from a Facebook ad, into a funnel, a process, if you like, that's going to build that relationship and build that rapport and show that you know what you're talking about and you are the person that they should be going to for the solution.
Fantastic. Yeah. I think, you know, what you said about, you know, people just, you know, I don't know, sending out marketing messages to people that they've got no relationship with. I know the other day I had an email from Volkswagen saying, do you want to buy a lease car from Volkswagen for £270 a month or whatever it was? And I thought, you know, why didn't they send me a different email saying something like, you know, have you considered leasing? Is it right for you and your business? Here's our report outlining the pros and cons of leasing. That would have been a much better, because, you know, they had no clue about me at all. You know,
No.
this mass emailing out about their new car to people who, you know, A, don't need a car right now, B, wouldn't necessarily buy a Volkswagen. And, you know, and it's just, I see it all the time, particularly actually on LinkedIn. Somebody asked me to connect and I go, yeah. And then next second, they've sent me a message saying, do you want to buy this from me? And it just doesn't work.
Just turns you off, doesn't it?
By saying here that, you know, I've used this for years, you know, people buy from people that they know, like, and trust. They also buy products they know, like, and trust, and from companies that they know, like, and trust. And really, I think one of the big problems that most small businesses have is total obscurity. You know, nobody's ever heard of us. And, you know, until you overcome that, you can't really move forward, I don't think. So you mentioned this idea of a funnel, Keith, and this is something a lot of people ask me about. I don't think they fully understand it. So tell us about that, please.
So a funnel is something which you're going to push people into at the top end, and it's going to slowly filter out those people that are not the right fit, and leave you with, hopefully at the very bottom of the funnel, ideal clients that want to do business with you.
A little bit like a funnel, I suppose, that you pour your oil into in a car, really. You've got to get enough in the top and hopefully some comes through the bottom. Yeah,
exactly. Yes.
Okay.
So we're using an advertising platform at the top end, and as I say, it could be something like Facebook ads, LinkedIn, whatever, and we are inviting them into really make a decision to start with to get more information or to understand or to learn from you. So I think you mentioned earlier a free report. So it could be a free report. It could be some sort of ebook. Something that would be even better would be like a mini course or a webinar. And what you're doing with those is that you can then show people that you know what you're talking about. Ideally, creating these digital assets, you do the work once and they can be used over and over for everyone that comes into the funnel. So I have run live webinars in the past, but I generally run automated webinars. And that means that I can educate those people around the clock without having to turn up every time and do it. Same with ebooks and things like that. They can be downloaded and put into an automated system so that you don't have to physically do all that each time. But what happens then is let's take the example of a webinar. So someone watches the webinar and it shows that you understand what you're talking about. It's giving them some great ideas and information and leaving them wanting more. And they now start to feel that you could help them. So the next part of the strategy would be to get people to book a strategy call with you, where you can have a quick chat with them. You can see if they've got the money, see if they are serious, see if they really want to work with someone, and whether it's a good fit. And if it is, then maybe you might take them from that into a longer call, and then from that into becoming a client. And you can even use automated software like Schedule Once and Calendly, and there's many others, where they will enable you to have someone book themselves in for that strategy call, and then you just get notified when the bookings come in. So what we want to do then, if you think about it, we're pushing lots of people in the top end of this funnel using a scalable marketing system. The funnel then filters out those people that are not suitable and leaves you with the people that book strategy calls with you. And that in turn then filters those out a bit more. So you're then left with the people that are ideal clients and want to be clients. And what we can do, and this is the clever bit about it all, we can say, well, how much does it cost us to get a lead that we put in at the top end? And how much is it costing to get a client that comes out at the bottom end?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And then we can say, okay, well, let's say we're doing some consulting and that consulting is going to cost £5,000 or dollars or whatever it's costing. And let's say it's costing us $500 to get that client. Well, then we've made 4,500 profit
For every
from
500 you spend, you make 4,500 profit. And
yes.
that is the holy grail, isn't it? That's the case.
Yes.
For every pound or every dollar you spend on Facebook ads, if you get 5 back or 10 back, how often do you want to do that? I'd be happy spending £1 million a day, wouldn't you? You know, if
Absolutely.
I got 5 to 10 million back every day.
But here's the thing: if you haven't automated the process, then you're going to be limited by the amount of time you've got to handle all of that. And then that limits the number of people you can actually work with. So that's why it's so important to scale and automate as much as possible so that you can use your time, which is being paid for.
Absolutely. I totally agree. So tell us a little bit more about this. You know, I think everybody understands the concept of whether it's Facebook or LinkedIn or doing emails or, you know, whatever it is they're doing to get people into the funnel. You then mentioned almost, it's like step 2 is, right, we got ebooks, we got report, we've got a webinar, we've got a three-step course or program or something like that. So I suppose, what's the best thing to do? And B, how do we automate that? How do we get that from, you know, thinking, right, okay, I'm going to write a report. I'm a I don't know, I'll use accountant again. I'm an accountant. I want to write a report on what people should be doing in this COVID world, let's say, that we're unfortunately living in. And I want to get that out. And I'm going to advertise that on Facebook, some advice, tips on how to save money and make more money in the time that we're living in. And I'm going to write the report, and I'm going to put that where?
So we invite accountants to download that if that's a target market, and we can then put that report into a number of places. But one of the places that works really well is to use a program called an autoresponder.
Okay. And
essentially, an autoresponder does a number of things. The first thing it does is it provides a database. So as people are coming in and registering for that free report, it's capturing their details. If you wanted to put that registration process on a website, then it will generate the form that will go into the website. It will also send out automatically the free report. But the thing that I love most about this, of course, not everyone will then respond as you want them to. Not everyone will book a strategy call or go to the next step, maybe because the timing's not quite right or because they're not quite ready or convinced or whatever the reason. But what you can do with an autoresponder is you can program it so that a message goes out at predetermined intervals. So it might be every week or every few days, and you can keep in touch on autopilot with that potential lead. And you can make the messages very personable because you can mail merge their first name, and you can then connect with them on a regular basis every few days and keep giving them additional little tips and ideas, and again showing what you're talking about, but all on autopilot. And then having calls to action throughout the email sequence.
It's very clever. We use a system for webinars, and it has what it calls if-then buttons on it. So if somebody clicks on the email, then they get that email follow, a few days later. So if they sign up to the webinar, they get an email saying thank you
Yes.
for signing. If they then turn up to that webinar, they get a certain string of emails. And if they don't turn up to the webinar, they get a different set of emails. Sorry you couldn't miss it. Would you like to rebook? And so on and so forth. And all that happens automatically. It's the great thing about this type of system is once you've set it up, you just let it run, don't you, Keith?
Yes, and so it's, you're obviously using something like Infusionsoft or
I used
Kajabi
to
or
use Infusionsoft. I now use something. Well, that process is called Jet Webinar, which I'd never even heard of until I was recently looking on the web for a different webinar system. I used Zoom for webinars for quite some time, and that was great.
yes,
But I just thought, I wonder if there's something else. So I, like you, decided to automate the whole process. So when
yeah,
I'm doing a webinar now, I'm running like 3 webinars every day, 7 days a week. But I did that like 3 months ago, I think, and so I don't have to be there 3 times a day doing webinars. And also, I think the webinar is my best work. Sometimes when you're doing webinars, you might be a bit tired and forget what you're going to say or whatever.
yes.
But with the automation, I know it's my best webinar and I've done it really well and people can access it. So this automation thing, I think, is really important and the future.
I think so too, and because the most valuable asset that we all have is our time,
Yes.
and you've only got one amount of time. It's not like some people are given more time than others. So
Yeah.
really what you do with it is going to determine how successful you are.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
and you can employ people, of course, and you can bring people in to do all of this for you,
Yeah.
but that's going to cost you a lot more than having software and AI do it for you,
Yeah.
which is going to always be working, and it works 24/7. And you might run a webinar and someone in Australia is watching it whilst you're asleep,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Absolutely.
but that, to them it's running
At the
at a
time,
time that's convenient to them. And
I run a webinar. I think it's on Tuesday and Thursday from memory at 1 o'clock in the morning, our time, just exactly for that reason. So that if you're in Australia, it's at a good time for you. Nobody in the UK, I don't think, is gonna watch it at 1 o'clock in the
no.
morning. So it's for that market. Yeah.
So I think that's another really great benefit. And so many webinars I've seen in the past where people have said, "Oh, it's running at 6 o'clock in the afternoon or something like that in America."
Yeah.
And then I look at the time for me, and it's
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
middle of the night, and
I have done that. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Which
And
is
there's not always replays and things available. So I love the idea that now we can offer people the time that's relevant and suitable to them, which of course
yeah.
is going to increase your watchability.
Yeah. No, I agree. So we've got people from our marketing, Facebook and LinkedIn and so on, into the funnel. They've accessed the webinar or the report or the program. They've done that. How do you then get them from? Have you got any tips to get them from the webinar into the meeting? Because, as you said, some people will just book automatically using the software, and others
Yes,
won't. And we want to maximize that and get the most people
exactly.
possible.
So I think a couple of things that really work well with the webinar is give them a gift or something for staying until the end.
Yeah.
So you might have you were talking about creating little reports and things
Yeah.
like that. You could have
Yeah.
something or PDF or some notes that they'll get if they
Yeah.
stay until the end. Another something that which we've found works really well is actually putting the offer in the middle of the webinar as well. And I'm just trialing something at the moment, which is where we are having a button at the bottom of the webinar which says, want to chat to us, want to book a call with us, but you want to fast track that option, then you
Right.
click now, and then it takes them
Yeah,
straight
right.
to our calendar.
So it could be that, somebody watches your webinar, they get about 10 minutes in, they think, boy, this guy's really switched on. They haven't really got the time to listen to you for the next hour, but they want to just book a meeting then and then. You think, yeah, this guy Keith is for me. And they want to book that meeting. Yeah.
So we're testing that at the moment to see if that gets a better response. And because we've got tracking in it, we'll be able to see whether they've come from the yes, I want to fast track it, or whether they stay till the end. So at the end, we would then say, okay, well, look, we've given you lots of great ideas and information, and we'd do a summary, and then we'd say, if you want to book a call with us, if you want to look at how we could help you to implement what we've just been showing you, then click the button below, and then that will take them to, as I say, the booking software like Calendly or Schedule Once, or one of those.
Yeah.
So one of the most important things, of course, in all of this is that you're tracking all of the conversions and numbers.
Yes.
Because if you don't do that, you won't know whether people are dropping out halfway through, or whether they didn't watch it, or so we need to know what people are doing, and when we know what people are doing, we can then respond accordingly. And I love what you were saying about how you use your autoresponder software to track, if they do this, then you send them this. So, and that's a great way to do it, because you can then say, well, if they don't watch the webinar all the way through, then send them this link and say, I noticed you didn't watch you had to leave early. Sorry to see that. Here's a replay of the webinar. And
that's exactly right. Yeah. It's
so you're not losing them then.
No.
And you can then.
What's interesting, Keith, on mine, my own results, if I get 100 people onto a webinar, I can tell you that around about 55% of them will attend. And I think that's fairly typical, the webinar sign-ups, from talking to other marketing people and other people who do that. So I get about 55%. Of the 45% who don't attend, my system immediately says, actually it's not immediately, it's just after the webinar finishes. It sends them a, sorry you weren't able to make it. What we've done is record it for you. If you'd like to watch it, click this link. And we get a 42% of them clicking the link. So that means only 3% of the 100 people don't actually watch it.
Yes. And you can track, can't you? Even if they don't click the link in your replay message, you can then say, I sent you a replay and you didn't watch it. Maybe it wasn't working. Here's the link again. So you can keep following up, all on autopilot, which is just fantastic.
It's fantastic. So instead of just getting 55 people watching it, I'm getting like 97 just because of the automation. So it's
and people always say the money's in the follow-up, don't they? So I think, and if you haven't got to do it, so this is what I love about the whole thing. And I could sum this whole process up, I guess, by saying, you've got to understand your market. You've got to have a message that really resonates with them, so that they say, this is what I've been looking for.
Yeah.
You then build up the relationship, the rapport, by putting them through a webinar or a mini course or ebooks, whatever. And the more valuable they are, the more they're going to like working with you. So a webinar is more valuable than just an ebook, for example, or a mini course. So you need to create digital assets that have got some value. And then from that, you want them to book themselves into a call. And the fact that they're taking the action and going to the trouble of doing that, every time they take some action and do something of their own accord, it means that they are serious about really helping and working with you.
You take
and then
route, aren't you, to get to know, like, and trust you.
Yes. Yeah. And then you're weeding them out via the calls that they turn up for. And then you're only working with those people that are serious, that have the money, that have the desire. You've weeded them out, and we're tracking, and this is the most important thing. What does it cost to get that lead at the front end? And what does it cost to get the customer? And how much profit are you making from each of those interactions? And if everyone did that, then why would there be any fear around advertising?
Yeah.
The fear is because no one tracks the numbers.
Yeah.
They try and be all things to all people. They haven't got a message that evokes emotion. They've got no proper funnel,
No.
and they're trying to hit them straight up with a sale.
You know, we had a client who I had an initial meeting with them, and they told me that they were spending £250,000 a year on exhibiting. And I said, "Oh, right. So, how many leads do you get?" And they sort of all looked at each other, and they went, "Well, we're not really sure. We know we get leads. Yeah, I'm sure we get leads, but we don't really know. We've never recorded it." I said, "Oh, really? How long have you been doing that?" They said, "Well, 6 years." I said, "So you've spent £1.5 million on marketing, and you have no clue whether it's won you any business or not?" They went, "Oh, no, 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 I'm sure it has," but they couldn't give me the numbers, and it's £1.5 million.
It's as daft, isn't it, as saying, "Well, I spent £1.5 million on a car. I
Yeah.
know it's around here somewhere. I'm sure we parked it somewhere."
Yeah. And I said, "So out of all those exhibitions, you don't know which one pulls better than the other? Is it better to go to this exhibition or that exhibition? Which one do
Yeah,
you get the most?" "You don't know that either." "No, no, no, we don't know that either."
it's crazy, isn't it?
Sin. It's a sin, I think. If I employed a marketing director who didn't know his numbers, I'd just sack him, basically. I'd say, "Look, you're
Exactly.
spending a load of money, and for everybody watching this, it's absolutely essential to track your sales and marketing numbers. It really is."
And one of the things I love about you, Steve, is, and as you say, we've known each other a long time,
Yeah,
but I always see you testing and measuring and trialing different strategies and marketing funnels and methods,
yeah.
and measuring your numbers, and I think that's why you're so successful. But I think the average person, especially if they're running a small business, doesn't do that.
No.
And I could almost write the script and say to someone, go to a small business and say, "How do you get your leads?" And they go, "Oh, it's mainly word of mouth."
Mhm.
That's what I hear. And you
Yeah,
probably the same.
yeah,
It's mainly word of mouth. And what I'm really hearing is because I don't know how to do marketing,
yeah, yeah,
because I don't know how to attract clients.
yeah,
And if they did, and the same, a lot of people I see that are talking to business brokers, they've got businesses that people are trying to sell that are like a car that's full of rust and
yeah,
and about to fall to pieces, and it's
yeah.
like, well, no one wants to buy it
No, no.
because there's no systems and there's no marketing strategy attached to it.
No, no, you're absolutely right. I often say to people, it's not that you're doing the wrong marketing, it's that you're doing the right marketing in the wrong way. All
Yeah,
marketing works, all of it, whether it's Facebook, LinkedIn, social media, blah, blah, blah. It all works, but, often it's done by people who don't understand how to do it. So people go, "Well, I'll try Facebook advertising." So they'll boost a post for 30 quid.
yes,
And it's like sticking it's going down the gym and doing 10 curls and think, "Well, that was a waste of time. I've still not got a massive muscle here, and that don't work. I'll go and do something else." And it's just the wrong thing to do. You need to get some training, find somebody who can help. Speaking of which,
exactly.
we will sort of bring it to a close, Keith, but I'd like, if you would, just to tell people a little bit more about what you can do for people and how they can get in touch with you.
So, well, I think the first step is I practice what I preach. So, I've created a mini course, and this is on marketing,
Okay.
and I wanted it to be useful. So, it's got some really great stuff in it, showing you how to use Facebook, LinkedIn, webinars, what we've been talking about,
Yeah.
to create a marketing funnel and strategies.
Great.
And I give you in the training examples of my own campaign, so you can see all the numbers for yourself, and you can see what could be possible for you. So I think as a starting point, it would be to watch that. And if someone's in Australia, they can contact me here. And again, I'll put all the details on the screen with this video, so that people can watch the mini course. Also, it will give you an idea of how to put one together, so that could be really useful for you as well.
Great. Okay. And so to do that, have you got a website that they can take a look at, or?
We've got a website called businessresultsclub.com.au.
Okay. Yeah.
And I've got a link that you can actually get to the mini course from the website.
Right.
But I will also put a link up as well if someone wants to go to that.
Okay, great. Thank you ever so much. It's been great to talk to you again as ever. Thank you ever so much. For anybody who's not yet signed up, not yet subscribed to the Results Podcast, please do so. Please feel free to share this recording with others. It's all about trying to help as many businesses as we can right now. We all know we're going through tough times. Is it going to get tougher? We don't know. What's going to happen? We don't know. There's a lot of uncertainty about, but the one thing I know, and I'm sure Kieth will back me up with this, is that no matter what happens with the economy and where it goes, I want to make sure that my business and my client's business and Kieth's client's business, and no doubt his business, is in the best possible situation when we do go through tough times, so that when we come out of that, we'll be ahead of the curve. We won't have just retreated and done nothing. We'll be pushing forward. And whilst we may not get the results that we'd all love right now, because times are tough, we'll do better than we would if we did nothing, for sure. But going forward, we'll be at a whole new level. So thank you ever so much for listening. I look forward to speaking to you again on the Results Podcast. Have a great week and speak soon. Thanks very much.
Thanks.